Alistair Creevy, Partick Thistle Football Club Interim Chairman, thank you very much for joining me today in this special interview for Jag supporters. First of all, please tell those Thistle fans a little bit about yourself and your career background to date.
Brian, thank you. Yes, my career background to date. Let's start off with my background to Thistle. I was brought up in the Bearsden Mulgai area, so in the 60s. So at that time, it was mainly the old firm, but I like a number of people, wanted to rebel, and I saw the Thistle logo with red and yellow, and that you can identify pretty quickly, and I did anyway. And I saw them play a friendly at the Coon Park in Bearsden, must be late 60s, and that was my team. So at that stage I was fairly young, so my big brother took me to Firhill. At that stage we were just in the old first division, not playing too well, in relegation trouble, but I get hooked straight away. So really since then, from Bearsden, then had one flat in Maryhill, so got closer to Firhill, then moved away down south for a few years, then came back, lived in Mulgai and then the West End, so I've always been close to Firhill and the association with Partick Thistle. My career, I've been in financial services since the 80s, really working in various insurance companies, senior roles, and then in the year 2000 decided to set up my own business, Independent Advisor Scotland, which became very successful. Managed to sell my business in 2017. So since then I've been really working part-time, and really from last year semi-retired. Although this is taking up a lot of my time, which I'm enjoying, and I still work for a company called Spectrum Wealth. I'm a director with them and as a financial advisor. Fantastic,
thank you very much for that. And as we can see, we're sat in the Jackie Husband stand today within the 71 Club room, quite fitting given you were one of the lucky ones at the 1971 Scottish League Cup final, which you can tell me all about. But where in the stadium would we usually find you for home matches? Are you a Jackie Husband stand supporter?
Yeah, Jackie Husband stand. So I was one of the first to sign up when was it Jez Moxley? The old club secretary or chief executive officer. So I remember coming in here, must be 25 years ago, getting the sales pitch, and he didn't have to sell to me, but I just thought this was a really impressive stand. So this was my fixture, and even before then, Brian, at the terracing, I would come here. Although we get kicked out when the old firm would appear, we were then put to the one of the other sides of the enclosure. But the Jackie Husband stand is where I would be. 71, yeah, I still remember that vividly. Just being at Hampden, I was only at 10, 11, so first time I think at Hampden, and 70,000 spectators, although I think it went up to 80,000 when the Rangers found out that we were winning at half time. Right. Fantastic memories, and it's fantastic to see that we've still got some of the old players coming back to Firhill who are legends, and so fantastic times.
Absolutely. So you've been there through all the 60s, 71,
yeah.
Firhill Shed Boy and Jackie Husband stand, etc. And here you are now. You've joined the club board as recently as April the 27th. How did that come about, and what were the main sort of motivating factors for you in joining?
Okay, so Duncan Smiley, the previous chairman, was a neighbour of mine in the West End. So obviously we kept in touch. When I moved to a different location, we kept in touch with Duncan, and then I've always been my ambition to be a director. Sadly enough, going back to when I started off my business in the 2000, I employed a coach to sort of mentor me a little bit too, because when you start off your own business, there's a lot of decisions you're having to make. But he said write down some goals, short term, long term, and one of my medium to long term goals was to be a director at Thistle, because I always aspired to see the directors at the ground, and I wanted to be part of that at some stage, not knowing 20 years later that I would be part of it. So it was a bit fortuitous meeting up with Duncan 3 or 4 months ago. Had a coffee with him, mentioned that they were looking to expand the board, and I had some time because I just retired from my business, although I was still working part-time, and so things just transpired to join the board, and then it took on a different level when I was asked to be chairman. So yeah, it was a lot of it just through Duncan.
but satisfied a lifelong ambition.
Absolutely.
So congratulations.
Absolutely.
As you said, it feels like an awful lot's happened at the club since that date. That includes your appointment as interim chairman earlier this month, in fact. So again, how did that step come to be, and how proud are you to hold that role?
I'm extremely proud, Brian, extremely proud. I never thought it would happen, and just through the circumstances. But I'm proud to represent the fans. I've got a tremendous support. I mean, that's one of the things. You're a loyal Thistle fan, and so I represent the fans and the club, which is an honour. How did it come about? Well, I think a lot of it was just through circumstances with the media on what was happening with the old board and with Duncan resigning and having to work closely with the Jags Foundation. So it just the circumstances just came that it made sense for me to be appointed as the interim chairman, which, as I say, I'm extremely proud to represent the club. That's
great to hear. Yeah, your appointment, as you said, took place during a week when a number of announcements were made by the club and the Jags Foundation about the club's financial position at that point. The response since of Thistle supporters has been absolutely outstanding. So, can you update us on how that position has improved to today?
Tremendous. I don't really want to mention the playoffs with what's happened, but since the playoffs, the media coverage that we had from the television exposure, we've had a tremendous uplift in season tickets. Unbelievable. So thanks to all the fans for renewing, and also the new fans coming on board. Very much interest from sponsors, which is great. We've got new sponsors, as you know, and also investors. We've had investors phoning from America, amazingly, wanting to find out more about the club, the potential, the development, what were plans. So there's an awful lot on the go, and we really appreciate the support from the fans.
Yeah, and as you said, with the playoffs, what it did show is the very best of the team on the park, but the very best of the supporters in the stands home and away, which is a great showcase for the club. Soon after your appointment as interim chairman, we saw the club add to the skill set already on the board with the additions of Douglas McRae and Andrew Holloway. Can you offer your view on their strengths and how that's going to help the club going forward?
Yeah, so when I became interim chairman, we did need to strengthen the board. That was quite apparent, and I took soundings from the Jags Foundation and various other supporting groups. And one of my friends, I suppose, in the financial services business was Douglas McRae, who has known Thistle for a long time, supports the club financially, and also spends time here. So I had a chat with Douglas, and he's a busy man, he's got his own business, but he was prepared to come on board, which was a fantastic coup for the club. He does a tremendous amount. So having Douglas on board is significant for the board to move forward, and I thank him for accepting. So Andrew came via the Jags Foundation, and it's quite right that we work with the Jags Foundation to strengthen the board, and he was one of their appointees. Incredibly impressive, comes across well, has already given some very good input to the board, and he'll be a great acquisition.
And that appointment in particular would appear to reflect the club's working relationship with the Jags Foundation growing ever stronger by the day, the foundation making a significant one-off contribution to the club, committing to 5-figure monthly payments for the next year. How important is that partnership to you and to the club and to the wider support base? It's
essential. I'm not going through the history of the club recently, but we need to have a more harmonious relationship with the Jags Foundation, which we have now, Brian, I can assure you. We're working very closely together, and with the appointment of Andrew on board, that's going to strengthen it even further. So we work closely. I'm meeting up with them on a regular basis. We share ideas. We know the fans own the club, quite rightly, and the board run the club, and we just have to make sure the communication signals are out there that support the fans and the club going forward.
And is that a focus of yours, this good communication with the
Absolutely,
supporters? Yeah,
absolutely. I went to, some even minor things like having a match day programme. I went to, communication, we have the social media, which is great, having on Facebook, and we've got various other outlets, and that's good. So it's just the match day experience, to get closer to the fans, let them feel part of the Partick Thistle Football Club, which is one of our strengths.
Absolutely, and communication is the very reason why we're sitting here having this interview today, so we're grateful for that. Understandably, supporters of a football club arguably care most about the team on the pitch. We've seen new faces arrive this week, which has given everyone a huge boost. What's the kind of board's focus in continuing to support Chris, enabling him to shape the strongest squad and ensure we can be really competitive in the Cinch Championship this season?
Yeah, good question, Brian. And we do get a lot of data from about what other teams are spending, what other teams' budgets are in the Championship. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that we don't want to be, spending too much. But there again, we don't want to be thrifty and not spending enough, because we've had a taste of nearly being in the Premiership, and we want to be in the Premiership. Let me make that clear. We want Partick Thistle to be in the Premiership, so we have to give Chris all the support we can muster. So we had a board meeting last week, and Chris was invited along, and I think if you ask Chris, he was pleasantly surprised with we revised the budget, because we do need to strengthen the squad if we want to make a push for promotion, and we do want to make a push for promotion this year. So I can let the fans know that is our aim, and the budget was adjusted accordingly. And we're prudent. We have got a finance director who has got a background of an accountancy, and so we do know what we can spend and what's coming in revenue-wise. But I can assure the supporters there's a tremendous appetite out there for sponsors and investors to want to invest in the club. We just have to make sure we have the right proposition in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if that was, I'm sure it was music to Chris's ears last week, then it will certainly be music to the ears of Thistle fans when they are watching this interview today, Alistair. So thanks for that update, and I guess that just takes us to a kind of and finally what would be your one message to supporters today?
Well, first of all, thanks to the supporters for renewing the season tickets and for being with us through the playoffs and making such a great advert to Scottish football through their singing and support of the club. Just bear with us. We know we're going through a period of change with the Jags Foundation now representing the fans and having closer links with the board. Bear with us. You will see a lot of changes in the next 3 or 4 months, positive changes for the football club, and so it's exciting times, and the main focus is we want to be at least in the playoffs, and we want to be back in the Premiership. That's where the club belongs.
Fantastic, Alistair. Thank you very much for your time today, and I'm sure we'd both like to do this again in a few months' time for a further update for fans. So thank you.
Brian, thank you.